Okay, welcome to the Lockdown Economy in Ireland today. We are a social non-profit initiative by the think tank AlterContacts to help small businesses and self-employed professionals overcome the challenges of the pandemic and reactivate the economy. My name is Rosie Allison. I'm the local interview host for the Netherlands and the UK. And today our guest is Wyons Stansfeld, owner of Pinocchio's Toys and Gifts, a toy store based in Cork, Ireland. Wyon, it's really great to speak to you today. How are you?
Very good, thanks, Rosie.
Now, I'm really interested to hear your insights because I think you're the first person I've spoken to that's been in retail, and we all know how badly hit that has been. So before we start, tell us a little bit more about your toy store in Cork.
We've been around since 1983. We're a totally independent, family-owned. We're actually the third people who've owned it, although we are, funnily enough, the people who've owned it the longest. So we've owned the store since 1991. We specialise in traditional toys, for want of a better description, and mainly wood, mostly as much as we can European made, or at least made eco-friendly, ethically, etc. Obviously, these days it's harder and harder to track it, but if you buy from ethically decent people, you will generally end up with ethically made toys. And that is what we do. Mostly vast amounts of European, strangely enough, a lot of French companies. That's just fluky, some Germans. But we try to give as personal a service as possible. And yeah, we've tried to continue to do that in the lockdown, so.
Right, okay. And am I right to assume that you have an online store as well as a physical store there in Ireland?
Yes, I mean, that is probably the biggest single change that we made because of the lockdown. Was we had been planning on setting up the online store for I'd say 3 years, and I'm not the greatest fan of online business. I have to say, I like the physical store. I like the fact that we can meet and interact with people and humans face to face. Obviously, that's a bit more of a challenge these days. So the online store had been set up last year, as in 2019, but we hadn't actually put it in, it wasn't up and running because it was set up as we ran in towards Christmas, and for Christmas for us obviously is critical. So once we locked down the first time, we immediately started uploading, and we had it running within about 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, it's also probably the biggest challenge for a small store like us, because obviously it's us doing it, and there's only effectively 3 of us. Well, two plus 1 employee. So that is a huge challenge for a small store to do, because integrating stock, integrating everything is done individually, and it takes far longer than people who just think you can just flick the switch and up it comes. It doesn't.
Yeah, and how did you overcome this challenge? Because I don't know if you've ever had experience with creating an online platform like this, but like you said, I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than it seems. So how did you educate yourself to overcome this problem?
I think we were lucky in a way in that the people who built the website, the system that we're using is very intuitive. Most of it can be done from our phones. And it is genuinely intuitive. I mean, you really, each time we've had to explain it to somebody how to use it, because we obviously there's 3 of us using it. It's very easy to do from a physical knowing how to do it point of view. It's just like anything. I mean, it's time consuming. I mean, it takes 15 minutes to half an hour to put up a single item by the time you've researched the photographs, taken the photographs, chosen what ones you're going to use, done a description. Because obviously for us as well, we want to give the same feeling on the website that you would get if you walk through the front door of the shop. So we want people to have that same slightly, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of wondrous feeling. You nearly need to see the shop to understand that. But if you see people walking in and the kind of, open mouth look, that it's that kind of shop that you want to be able to search around it and find things. I mean, we don't lay the shop out like a supermarket, so it's not like a It's not like a Smith's Toys or a Tesco's. Things are not always lined up. They're designed on the shelves to make it look more, I don't know how you would describe it. It's almost casual, but it's not really. It's made to look casual.
Yeah, all designed in that way.
Yeah.
And I guess with your shop, like you mentioned, you really focus on the quality of the wood, of the materials that are used to make the toys. And so I guess the shopping experience for many of your clients is quite tactile. They want to actually touch to see the objects. And so what kind of feedback did you get from people that were now using your online store?
Mostly they were very impressed with our descriptions, because obviously we're trying to give descriptions that give as much, as much of a feeling for the thing that is in front of you as you would have if you had it in front of you. I mean, obviously in the shop, we have a lot of open boxes. I mean, there's almost everything that you can actually feel is out on the shelf to feel. But obviously, both while we were open and during complete lockdown, that's not an option. I mean, we try to say to people that, try not to fiddle with everything. Well, obviously we want you to be able to touch it and handle it, but try and limit your touching and handling, and don't be picking up half the shop and putting it down again, because that's just not, it's just not a good thing at the moment. But yeah, I mean, we've tried to give us as good a description as we would if you were standing in front of us in the shop. And really that's all you can do is good photographs and hope that they realize. I mean, we did make a point on the online shop. We did make a point. I mean, I always want to make sure when people stepped onto the online shop, the first thing they know is it is a shop. I mean, it's not a warehouse, it's not a shed, it's a physical piece of bricks and mortar. And if you have a problem, you could drive to Cork and walk through the front door and go, and I think that's very important from a small independent retailer. That's so important that people realize that the people behind it and the kind of the family element of it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for anybody listening who's thinking of building an online shop. Try to make it as personal as possible, great descriptions so that people are transported into your little shop in Cork, even when they can't be. So
Yeah.
People know that there's not the best situation in the UK and Ireland right now. So tell us a little bit about the current situation with your business.
Well, I mean, currently we are closed officially until the end of January. Obviously, we can still run the online business. We're not allowed to click and collect, for example. So it's all shipped. In Ireland, probably the single biggest problem when it comes to shipping is for us, it's easy enough to ship within Ireland. That's no problem. But the cost of shipping outside of Ireland is generally excessive. So it's not, and also for a shop like ours, where the size of the product could vary between 6 inches in a doll's house. It's not actually practical to even ship outside. I mean, we have shipped into the UK, funnily enough, though, before Brexit, I have to say. So now that's different now, but yes, less said about that, the better. But we have shipped outside Ireland, and obviously we have a lot of customers outside Ireland who order for shipping within Ireland. So, but that is probably the biggest challenge. The cost of shipping obviously is enormous once you ship outside. Therefore, we're very limited. I mean, we're limited to the 5 million. Well, 6 million because we can ship into Northern Ireland as well. But we're limited to what's on the island for the most part. And that's a very finite number.
Sure, definitely. And do you know anything about your competition in this period? Other toy stores, have they been experiencing similar challenges to you?
I certainly know one or two who have not gone online for one reason or another. I wouldn't know why. I mean, our biggest competition has always been because we are so specialist, there's not very many of us in Ireland doing this sort of thing. So our biggest competition has always been online competition, which generally is back to the kind of, I wouldn't say the shed at the back of the garden, but it's generally back to warehousing and what have you. So there's not the same level of personal interaction with that as there would be with us. And that's been the same like for the last, I suppose 3, 4, 5 years, we've always had the biggest competition has been competition from online retailers. And also we were affected, again, Brexit does have one positive. We were hugely affected by the fact that UK businesses could send stuff into Ireland relatively cheaply because of volume, and quite often for free, which we could never ever compete with. So obviously that has changed at the moment. What that'll do in the future, who knows? But now that we're set up and the website is set up, at least we feel we are in some way able to compete with it. I mean, I don't personally believe we can ever completely compete on price in the bricks and mortar stores. There is a roughly 20% cost for physically standing on the floor, in addition to the guy who has a warehouse. That's just reality. So unless you've got 20 stores and 30 stores and you're in the volume business, it's not totally possible for us to compete. Therefore, we have to compete on this kind of personal interaction with people, whether it be online or in the store.
Yeah, great advice. I think for people who are maybe also looking to buy toys, if they come to you, they're going to get a personal service. Obviously, if they go to Amazon, it's a very different story. So you've spoken a lot about the challenges and the things that you've done to overcome them with your shop. And obviously, it's difficult to plan in this current climate. But what's your outlook for the coming few months? Do you have anything planned?
No, I mean, I think we will have to slowly expand the online, the volume we do online. I think we'll have little choice in the matter. I mean, in the run up to Christmas, we had about 900 items online, but in the shop on average in the run up to Christmas, we have somewhere near 3,500 separate SKUs. So the time it would take to put that up and the difficulty in in managing that from a stock control point of view for a small retailer. I mean, we use an EPOS system, but our EPOS system is 15 years old. There is no way it's going to integrate with any modern online system. So we'll either have to invest in completely changing that, or, we keep it the same and we try and manage the stock in some genius system. I'm not quite sure, but that for us, that's probably the biggest challenge into the future. On the other hand, that's also something that makes it kind of, well, from my point of view, it makes it quite interesting because it's something new. I mean, it's like social media, obviously, that for us in the last 12 months has hugely improved. I've become a master of Instagram, Facebook, and etc., because that really is the other way of immediately interacting with people. And that again is something that people need to do. If you're a small retailer, you really have to use social media, and you have to, even if it feels bizarre and you need to answer a question at 10 o'clock at night, just quickly answer the question, because all of a sudden there's a human at the end of the thing and they're going, oh, geez, but yeah, I think for the next 12 months, I think we'll be okay. I think for Ireland in general, if it starts becoming under control again, which I think it will. I mean, it's like everywhere. There's this slight refusal to understand it, almost a kind of a fight back or something. The first few lockdowns, everyone was quite happy to sit there and go. Of course, now people are like, oh, Jesus, not again. And yet, we must. It's literally, it's no joke when they say you're all in it together. You are, everyone.
Yeah, and I guess one slight positive to come out of this pandemic is that you have been forced to push yourself online and with the social media as well. Could you just explain what you have been doing on social media for anybody watching that maybe wants to increase their social media presence a little bit more?
Mainly, I mean, Facebook and Instagram are quite useful. I mean, you have to study the times you're posting. You study. I mean, Instagram is very graphic. I mean, your photographs. Facebook, you can kind of get away with any old. It doesn't really make a great deal of difference. I mean, our accounts are linked anyway, but in general, Facebook, it doesn't have to be particularly fancy. It's just somebody scrolling through somebody else's feed that sees it. On Instagram, because of the way it searches, you need to be able to make sure that your photographs are actually genuinely make people go, oh, I must have a click on it, must click on it. You know, much more so, even if they're following you, the same rule still applies, that to get them to click, you need to make it interesting enough for them to click. I mean, we found that certain things have far more appeal than other things. You know, static photographs don't necessarily have appeal, except for when they include, we have a giant Pinocchio who stands outside the front of the shop. And in general, if we include Pinocchio in a picture, no matter what he's doing,
he's popular.
He is, it somehow makes it more popular. I don't know why. I mean, but things like that, you know, and getting the hashtags right is very important. I mean, for us in Ireland, well, particularly in Cork, there is a hashtag for Cork that is Shop Cork Online, and that has been quite successful for many Cork retailers, not just for us. It's very important to keep pushing the local thing, that people have to realize you need to shop local. You know, whether that's in Holland shopping local or in the UK shopping local. And local by local, I don't necessarily mean even in your own immediate area, but in your country, in the greater area around you. That it's going to be so important for economies to recover, that people try and support their next door neighbors. You know, they're the ones who are you know, living next door to you. They're buying whatever it is you're probably working at. They're also your consumer. So if everyone does that, we all have a good chance of getting out. Because retail, I mean, you're right, retail in general, in here, Holland, most countries, retail is under serious pressure. You know, in Ireland, it was because of rising rents over a period of time. In the UK, it's just been under constant pressure because of online retail. And in the UK, you kind of, and to some extent in Holland, actually, you can see it that you have, in the UK, there's been catalogues for 50, 60 years. A stretch from going to buying from a catalogue to buying online, and there isn't one. It's exactly the same thing, except the picture is on the screen in front of you. That was less of a problem in Ireland. You know, most of the online most of the catalogues here would have been UK catalogues. So there was still quite a strong, retail in general here has been stronger. It's been more affected. Retail in Ireland has been more affected by UK retail chains here going kaput than by Irish retail chains going kaput. But that being said, it's all pressure on the city centres. You know, yeah, it's that's a difficult one. But people need to support local, and those hashtags are so important that people keep pushing that. And in general, hashtags, trying to find the right hashtags is like, you know, you post something and you're looking at the hashtag and you see, you know, there's 5,000, then you see when you've got like 1 million, but you could get lost in 1 million. So and hashtags are really important.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit trial and error in that way, but I think that's the important message, that shop local as much as you can to help these small independent businesses like yourself get through these very difficult months of the pandemic. So you've spoken about many challenges, many very valuable insights, I think, into your industry and how that you've overcome the challenges of the pandemic in certain ways. But as always with the small independent business, there are things that you need help with. So just to finish off our interview today, could you name maybe 3 things that you and Pinocchio's Toys and Gifts need help with in this current climate?
I suppose the biggest help is help with online stuff in general. I mean, that learning curve. I mean, obviously, I have gone to the trouble of trying to learn it, but I've also had help learning it. I mean, I've not totally done it on my own. And I think that is the biggest thing that people in general in small business need help with. You know, most of your day-to-day stuff you've been doing, if you're running a small business for 20 years, 30 years, obviously most of the day-to-day stuff is stuff that you already know. It's that kind of new stuff, that new, you know, moving out of your comfort zone stuff. You know, learning about the packing, the silly, simple things, learning how to, I don't know, box stuff, you know, realizing that some stuff just needs to be boxed better. It's, you know, it's, I think that's the sort of thing that people are going to have to spend a bit of time learning. As I say, their day-to-day stuff, you know, day-to-day running a business is running a business. I mean, it's the same, whether it's online, offline, that bit doesn't make any difference. It's the kind of the additional bits that you suddenly realize, God, I don't know how you do that, and you've never done it before. We've never had to get a shipper to ship, 30 boxes a day, or, and you're trying to find the right one that suits you and, has the right, and that's something you just have to ask people about. You have to do your research, and talk to your fellow businesses, because there's no way that you're doing something that hasn't been done before. Not generally, unless you're really, lucky or something. But there's always someone you can ask. I mean, in Cork, there's a huge within Cork, there's a huge kind of positivity amongst all businesses, amongst all kind of cross section of all retail, hospitality, etc. This kind of feeling that everyone needs a bit of a boost. So every other business, if I tweet something on my own account, you will find that lots of other businesses will retweet that and show their support for it. And that again has been that's something people have to learn, that you need to go out and talk to people. You still need to go out and interact with people. And if there's one thing people can learn, that's they need to go out and talk to people.
Yeah. I think another piece of great advice there. The help is out there. Everyone's in the same situation, so ask for it, and hopefully we can all help each other through these difficult times. So thank you very much, Wyon, for your insights. It's been really great to hear a business in retail finding solutions to this very difficult period. I'm going to link below this video some of the links to your social media accounts and also your website. So I recommend that people check them out. And I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the AlterContacts YouTube channel, because in the coming weeks, we're going to have many more small business owners sharing their insights with you. Wyon, thanks a lot. I think some really brilliant insights there. Do you have anything to say to anybody that may be watching? Any final words?
Oh, no, I mean, really, the support your local businesses, support your neighbors, your friends and neighbors are the ones who will keep it going, and don't be afraid to do it. I mean, it's not a bad thing. You might or might not pay more than you thought you were going to pay, but the value within your local economy is vastly more than, as you say, Amazon or, so yeah, that's my advice.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Wyon.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Rosie.